Hi, everybody. It's Nana Marie in Quebec City. I typically don't do a video so close to the other as I am today, but I wasn't finished with my talk about passive aggressive um, covert narcissism. It's the most insidious type of evil that's lurking around. It's the calm, quiet ones, snakes in the grass, I call them now, that I know. They're very difficult to identify. And then if they are identified typically by a target of the narcissist, they're not believed. Um, they go about life um, making sure that they have targets that won't run into one another. Typically, sometimes they don't care, but they're very sneaky. And what I wanted to finish talking about, I always talk about my own personal story because that's why I lived it through, is to, humanize where we have been dehumanized by these creatures. They're groomers. And I forgot to mention, sometimes I'm speaking slower recently because I'm having some neurological issues now. I got a big blood clot a while back and it's traveling around. And I got, so bear with me, please. I've got important messages and I just ask that if I mix up words or something like that, you just bear with me. Anyway, the passive aggressive narcissist, um, well, I'll just talk about Gary. I told you yesterday in the story that um, I met Gary when he lived upstairs with some guys from university. And I was working an office job, and the problem I had with him was that once we started dating, which took me 4 months because I really didn't, he was a virgin and 21, and he had no life experience. And so, and here I had a 5-year-old boy almost. And it just, no, I was slow. So we were all friends, but no dating for the first 4 months. And then I finally agreed. And what they do is they love bomb you. And people show their love in various ways, right? If you read the 5 love languages, his way is always in service, always helpful, right? Um, he brought Trevor his Lego. It was all in these little compartmentalized boxes, color coordinated. And I thought, oh my God, that's obsessive or something. But he gave them to Trevor, and I said, well, Trevor's not going to keep him like that. And he was so easygoing, while he had these thoughts himself. He didn't care. No, let him have them. He can mix them up. Just the nicest guy in the world. And then oftentimes I would have to work late, or I would want to go to the bar, Keg Caesars in downtown Vancouver, after work with the insurance company I was working for, and he didn't mind babysitting. Very, very much a nice guy, and you know what, guys, that's not normal. It is not normal for people that are not biologically related to be focused on your child at all. At all. At all. And I just, now I can tell you that with confidence, but we're lobotomized here. So, and they want to know everything about you. And so they seem very engaging, right? And you get to talk about yourself finally, you know? And so you're talking about yourself, and they seem really engaged in your conversation. I remember once Gary was just amazed at how I ate a hamburger. They think little words like that. Um, but they're very nosy. They want to know everything about you, and they do calculate and keep the information in the background to bring up later, to use against you. So they're easygoing, but they're passive aggressive. And I wanted to do more on what is passive aggressive. It's a communication way of being. Um, they're typically we lump them into three. There's assertive, which is the normal conversation people have, and there's no undertones, of aggression. So that's assertion, and that's what you want to aim for. Then there is aggressive, and there's people that just come at you aggressively right off the bat. But the passive aggressive, they're harder to spot. They have a smile on their face, and they'll tell you things, but they're full of shit. And lies are aggression. They think you're a fool. Yeah, they really do think that the people they're lying to are stupid. I know that he would have been the last person in the world to that we would guess who destroyed my sister's wedding book at her wedding. Like, I couldn't figure that one out. She was very young. She was living with us, and then she was going to get married. And she went back home to Vernon to get married, and we went up there for her wedding. Somebody destroyed her wedding book. And I found out 10 years into my marriage it was a snake in the grass. So nobody would ever know, ever guess. It'd be everybody else in my family. Believe you me. No, nobody would have guessed. So they smile, but they seethe, and they won't tell you what their problems are. They pack them in, and um, and they come out in this insidious ways, in sarcasm. It's the lowest form of humor. Humor. It dehumanizes people. I have been the mocked person of the. I got wedding pictures with my sisters and the groomsmen behind me making rabbit ears behind my head and laughing in my wedding photos. And they ruined my wedding photos, basically. I don't care now, but at the time I was very sensitive, they said. They just didn't have any respect for me. And that's what happens when you've been the mocked one or the scapegoat in this dynamic. If you happen to come from one, yeah, they're gonna not respect you. After a while, nobody will respect you. It's got to stop. You've got to put it in its tracks if you can. And that's why I'm here. I want you to identify snakes in the grass. um, yeah, so under the surface they're volcanic, and oh, I know what I wanted to say. It was, yeah. Um, After Trevor died, um, we'd been married almost 20 years. Well, we were married in '84, and Trevor died in 2003. And in 2004, for our 20th wedding anniversary, we always did something, went somewhere, I always bought my own rings because he never love bombed me. After marriage, there's no more love bombing, no more grooming of me. That's a fact. I got nothing. If I got any rings or anything, I bought them myself. And but I asked him to get me a 20-year anniversary ring. Like I thought we were going to keep going on with our marriage, right? I was still stupid. I still had no idea of what I was dealing with in my house. And yeah, I just see a big spider in my house. So I'm going to put this on pause. Where was I? I got to remember where I'm at here so I don't forget to tell you. Um, Christ, thinking of two things at once is becoming difficulty. So, gotta get that. So, this is the year that I wanted to do something special. It was 20 years. So, I asked him to get the ring. And I got him something special, a watch or something, I can't remember, and a card. And we went to Los Cabos. And um, I had to tell you, I had nothing but bad anxiety the whole time. And I ended up getting hurt bad on a motorcycle accident, a scooter accident. Um, I was knocked unconscious. And Gary came running up to me and started slapping my face while I was unconscious. And he was saying, I'm not paying for a Mexican hospital. And um, this guy came up behind Gary and threw him on. And Gary was a big man, he was over 6 feet there. He threw him off of me and helped me. And I was taken to the hospital, and it was a broken wrist, and I didn't have a concussion. So, or if I did, I didn't have any more symptoms. So I was in a cast for the rest of the time, but I had bad feelings, and I didn't know why. And I know why now. What was going on was that my ex now wanted to off me. He wanted me gone, and I was so pathetic by then. I had no energy to work. I had no confidence. My son was dead. I couldn't cope with what was going on with my granddaughter and her mother. That was a nightmare. I was dealing with nightmares. And losing my grandson to adoption after Trevor died, too. So there's so many bad things going on at the time. I'm surprised I'm even here. But you know what? I am. And I'm here to tell you about it. And why am I telling you about it? To help people recognize that we have to turn the lights on. The truth has to come out. I'm not protecting anybody anymore. I know people love their loved ones and they don't want to hurt them. But if people are never called on their behavior, they get away with it and they hurt people. They hurt people bad. So that's why it's important to be connected to your soul. Not only I doubt there are as many passive aggressive covert narcissists out there as there are just regular people. But um, we are the bottomized guys. And when I saw my life review with those beings of light, um, the regret of not believing in myself was overwhelming. Overwhelming. Above all else, believe in yourself, your feelings, right? It's something I can't give anybody. is their feelings. I can show people where to find them, and I know that it's hard because people are afraid of their feelings. They have been damaged. Everybody has been. Anyway, but on I go with this. The silent treatment. Don't tolerate the silent treatment. Don't. It's the most cruel thing I was ever put through is the silent treatment. And then they put my son through the same bullshit. You know what? Um, that is communication. The silent treatment is zero love coming your way. So believe them. Believe them. And notice if there's any sort of sudden behavior shifts or a sudden change in their tone or, then something's up. And when I got home from that trip in Los Cabos, I was so full of anxiety that I thought he was going to kill me. I even called a transition center. And he didn't beat me up even once. And you couldn't say that, right? All I've got is my intuition then. And it was there. Well, I think Trevor was telling me. In fact, I know he was. Because our loved ones can read thoughts and they know what's going on. And after I got out of the house in April of 2005, I knew, I knew the sudden relief of being out of that is what Trevor was trying to get through to me, to get out. Because these are the ones that will get away with it. They're the ones that get away with it. Or they won't find out for 20 years or whatever. Um, the snakes in the grass, the passive aggressive covert narcissists. They're very moody, um, and they want you miserable, and they know how to push their buttons to get there. You know, we were over at a friend's of his once. I smoke, and they didn't. They were going to church. And this is one of his friends that was living upstairs too, and they smoked. Or I smoked, and Jim got this girlfriend after um, Gary and I were married. He had a girlfriend finally, and then we went over to her apartment for dinner with some other people were there that I didn't know. And it was nice, but it was a pretty crowded, small apartment. And I knew I couldn't smoke in her place because you can't in people like that place. She hated cigarette smoke. And she put her mother down with it and the whole thing. Like her mother was dying and she was, I just don't like non smokers. I really don't. Anyway, um, I went out to the balcony and it started to snow. And all of a sudden I could see her looking at me and laughing and getting her friend to look and laugh that I was out in the cold and the snow smoking. And I just felt it all. I felt all of the judgment, all of the stones, all of the contempt. And I couldn't get out of there fast enough. She is another psychopath. She's a sociopath. She works at Children's Hospital as a nurse. Um, but when they were getting married, Gary was the best man, and I was not nobody. I was just the wife of the best man. And at the reception, she seated me at she had a huge wedding. She seats me at the very back of this hall, facing the kitchen door where I watch the cooks and the servers coming in and out. And I was facing that. I couldn't even see the dance floor, nothing. And Gary was up there with the wedding party. And I just thought, wow, like she really didn't like me because I smoked. And well, that was her reason. People, they'll come up with a reason, right? It is any reason to put out the light. Because I'm a happy, smiley person, not a moody person at all. No, but they are. And they don't like your light. And so they will target the light in any chance they can get to put it out, make you miserable. And that's what I wanted to get through, was just that. I just wanted to um, show you a couple of pictures. I was browsing through them last night, and it just, holy cow. Um, so this is me on our 20 year at Los Cabos, right? See me sitting on that ledge there? I was just sitting out there having a smoke. Well, Gary never takes pictures of me, and I didn't even know he took that picture. But it, just feelings. Just feelings, that's all you can work with. But I didn't know I had a face like this. Very, very, like, dead already. It was. And you can become dead inside. You can become dead inside. And I was. And I was just, because I never thought of Gary as that until the Beings of Light came in 2016. I was still friends with Gary long after we separated. And never any, like, but they find children, and they like to play with children. They like to play the Lego, even Barbie dolls. They'll get on the floor. And I had this memorial done, and there I had Gary, and playing with Trevor in the pool. You know, what are you gonna say about that? And you know, I'm going to show you a picture of a little girl that we got, and how she felt around him in the beginning. But her mother was always with somebody, coming over to our house. Always. Living with a new guy every month. A new one every month. Living. I think there were 11 in 1 year. So I told her she had to turn her daughter over to us. And we could protect her. I'm just going to move this camera and show you. When she was with me, she was in joy. But when her mother or Gary were around, suddenly I didn't know her. I wanted to teach my granddaughter how to cook. Where she ended up, they didn't teach her how to cook. I took her to the beach every day, and the summer she lived with me after the separation, we went to the beach every day. I taught her about gardening and cooking gingerbread houses. That's my dad. That's how she felt around my dad. That was another scapegoat. right? I told you guys. And you know who my dad is now? Heart of gold. I even painted on my fence a little clothesline for her. Princess room. Playing dress up. Going to the zoo. The fair, that was. Armstrong Fair. New kitten. Easter. So, in our court system, going on everywhere, you have to be a member of that club, and I think you know what the club is. I get kind of content removed by, but they find them at the universities, and they create chaos, and they're snakes in the grass, and they're employed in positions of authority and power in every agency, and they're using Freud, as I talked about in the video yesterday. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. They use Freud as their way of destroying women and your mothers and your daughters, your grandmothers. You know, my Aunt June was a very brilliant woman from the UK. She was a RN in the UK and came over here, and she was married to my Uncle Chester. But then after they got a divorce, she married a Major Thomas Jameson Quirk from the military, or, well, the RCMP, which basically is the military. And he was a major in the RCMP. And then later on in life, she ended up going back to school. She wanted to become an early childhood educator on top of being that RN. And she went and got her master's degree. She was the woman that gave me a facial when I was 16 and made me feel special. She really made me feel special. And then I carried on her tradition with my nieces to give them facials, which, I don't know. Anyway, I did it with them too. But my Aunt June ended up getting depressed after her education, or during it when she got a job in some daycare or something. I don't know. And she ended up, I was told, in some place for depressed women. And then she came to my 40th birthday party, and my mother went to pick her up from that place. And she showed me, she had a blister pack of 20 different types of medication. And like, I'm powerless, and I was also being plied with a bunch of drugs at the time, so I didn't know what to do to help her. And she ended up jumping out of her 7-story window. You know, that woman was candy. She wore bright colors, her eyes twinkled. She was always cooking up a storm in the kitchen. She was a real woman. And what they've done, the snakes in the grass, starting with the Garden of Eden and that whole bullshit story of hypnosis men walked into and became masters to his children's mother. A big mistake, in the words of Julia Roberts. Who is a man? Who is a man? Snakes in the grass. These drag queens are, you've got to look at your television movies and all of your programming. You're just going to be confused. Everybody's going to be in the same costume eventually. Black. Black. The black costume is coming to those who don't have the light. What is the light? Truth. And that's why I bring up my family, whom I have zero attachments to, but no resentment either. You don't want to carry any emotional baggage. It is what it is, what it is. To the ones that are watching me and have followed me and my story, my amazing spiritual journey, thank you, for believing in me. I don't need that from my family anymore. What I need is the truth to be known. I need people to be willing to be truthful. And that frees up the air, doesn't make it so thick. And when the truth is out, it doesn't matter what happened. I don't give a shit. I don't want to talk about the past. I want to talk about what we're going to do now. Because they've divided the family this way. The snakes in the grass. They've divided the family. And the family is going along with it, and they're calling each other toxic poison. They're not giving each other a break at all. They're judging each other, throwing stones, and making each other feel miserable because they're miserable. It's time to stop it. If anybody believes in Jesus anymore, Jesus is about joy. Joy, joy, joy. And it should be Christmas every day. The only thing getting in our way is fear. So if you like my messages, you can subscribe. I would appreciate that. I am keeping my comments off. Um, it just works out better for me. I don't really have an answer back and forth anymore for people. I just want to get out what my guides are urging me to get out. And all of my story um, is about family, is humanity. If the family isn't there, there is no humanity. There's no humanity with the government, in the medical field, in the social worker field, in the there's no humanity. They must get their humanity from home. And if they're not getting it, the kids or loved ones, seniors too, like it's devastating what you're doing. It's devastating to the soul. It darkens the soul. Thanks.